Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV Presents True Crimes. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. Also on Instagram at Divine_Goddess_27. On Brighton and Patreon at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. And also on Melanated People at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur and Twitter at DGoddess27. Okay? So, let me go ahead and get into it. Dark-skinned brother, could you please send me an email with your email so I have your email information so I can invite you to the next mod meeting, please? Right? And any other mods who I have not sent you a link for any of the meetings, I need your emails so that I can invite you to the meetings. Because if you don't come to the meetings, I have to remove your mod status. Okay? You have to come to at least 2 meetings a month. All right, so let's get into it. Hello, Mr. Mercedes, Fight for Black. Aggie Ma, Mr. Sweet Corn, I hope I said that right. Judah Queen, Serena, Nathalie, Alice, Craig, Dark Skinned Brother, Fight for Black, JB1, Felicia, Melanated Brown, Desmond, October, Ayan. Okay, so let's get into it, people. So we're going to be talking about Milton William Cooper, known as the grandfather of conspiracy theorists. That's what they call him. He clearly was not a conspiracy theorist. He was a fact seeker and a truth speaker. Okay, so we're going to talk about him now. When I first, hello, Chris, never mind, Woke One, Aaron, Queen Conscious. So as before I get into my commentary about him, I'm just going to share a video of an interview that he did before his passing. And I'm going to show you certain excerpts from the video. Now, I'm not going to show the whole thing because it's clearly long, but I'm going to show you certain key points. And you can judge for yourself if he was a conspiracy theorist, because a lot of the things that he said are happening right now. Some of them have already happened. Okay, so let me read my fair use disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Now, I do show my FBI copyright thing when I first come on, but I just read that just in case, because you know how ScrewTube can get. Okay? So everyone, please go ahead and like and share the video. Remember that I look for you guys to share my material because YouTube has been shadow banned, not just on the pro-black pages, but on all of my pages, on all of my channels. Okay, so thank you in advance for that. And also make sure you send me a friend request on Melanated People. Okay, here we go.
That they would.
I'm going to walk this back. Hold on, because I'm going to start at the 15-minute mark, I think.
I like to break down the DNA of a song to show you where it came from.
Millions. Prepared and updated. Political situations, deployment of Soviet forces, naval forces, everything. And after the briefing was finished, between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning, then we were done. You know, we were finished. So it was what you call fat cat duty or gedunk duty in the Navy. It's got all.
Hold on, people. I'm speeding up some more. Hold on. Okay, there we go.
Compartmentalized information. I had access to whatever the admiral and his staff had access to, because we had to prepare briefings and brief these people on all of these things. And I'm sure that at first I was tested and wasn't shown a whole lot, but eventually, when they began to have confidence in me, I began to see things coming across my desk that were just absolutely incredible. and a lot of it is really hard to talk about because it's so far outside the normal concept of reality for the average American that that they're going to find a hard time believing any of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw documents that were labeled under the classification top secret, and the compartmentalized the compartment that was put into was called MAGIC, MAJIC,
Mm-hmm.
which told me that that UFOs are real, which I already knew. I'd seen one.
Right.
But this went farther than that. It told me that they were extraterrestrial in origin, that there were 4 different extraterrestrial species or races visiting this Earth, and that they had actually entered into an agreement with the United States government with one of these species of alien beings to exchange technology. And it told me all the projects that was underneath this. Project Red Light was actually the testing of extraterrestrial craft. Project Plato was a diplomatic project. Pounce was the recovery of technology. Pluto was the application of that technology to our own secret space program, not the public space program. There are 2 different space programs. One is what the public gets to see,
Mm-hmm.
which is overseen by NASA. And the other one is a secret space program that nobody gets to see, which is really overseen by the Navy Department under specialized compartmentalized black projects. And what these people are doing in secret is just absolutely incredible. I also saw documents under an operation called Operation Majority, which outlined the plans to bring together a one world government. It also included extraterrestrial information within that. Project Grudge, which was the second project. First was Sign, and then Project Grudge, which contained all of the extraterrestrial information up to a certain point. I forget the year cutoff. And then it was contained after that in another project called Project Aquarius, which was the accumulation of the whole history of alien interaction on planet Earth. But I have to say at this point that I don't know if those documents were really telling the truth or not. They could have been showing me these things so that eventually I would go out and talk about this. And maybe that'll become clear to you later why they may have done that. It could be real. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
At this point, from a personal standpoint, what was it that, based on your experience in '66, and they said, absolutely do not reveal this to anybody. And here we are a few years later, and you're seeing documents that prove that what you saw was real.
mm-hmm.
What was the one factor or a number of factors that led you to the decision to say, I've got to get this out. I've got to tell people about this?
I saw contingency plans called Majestic. And these contingency plans were to, first place, a contingency is a plan that can be implemented if certain things occur. And the certain things that would have tripped this contingency plan are, number one, the public sector is getting too close to the truth, so they have to implement this to get them steered off the track. Or number two, we don't want to tell the public the truth about the alien presence, but there's so much alien activity occurring that the public is on the verge of finding out anyway. Let's tell them this story so that it doesn't cause consequences that we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And that plan was called Majestic. I was in a bookstore one time. I'd never seen UFO magazine. Didn't even know it existed. In fact, I didn't even know that there was a UFO culture in the world of people who study UFOs or worship UFOs or have little UFO meetings. I had no idea that was occurring. I was in a bookstore one time and I was looking at the magazine rack. I'm an avid reader and I'm always in bookstores. And this one day I saw a magazine just popped right out at me. It's UFO. And I picked it up and I looked inside, and here is Majestic, all right there. And even the people who had been named to implement the plan were the ones who were actually implementing it. William Moore, Stanton Friedman. I'd never heard of Jamie Chanderay, but he was named, and they had brought out a supposed genuine document called the Eisenhower Briefing Document, which in reality is a fraudulent document. It's a fake. And it was created to implement the plan Majestic to either indoctrinate the public on what the government wants the public to perceive as happening, or to steer researchers away from the truth, or both.
So this wasn't revealed.
Hold on, people. I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to go back, but let me just say something about what he is saying. Okay, thank you, dark skinned brother. This is what I want to tell you guys. So I recently told you all on a broadcast, maybe a month ago, I can't remember exactly when, but I recently told you all that I believe there's going to be a fake alien invasion. And the reason I think so is because the government has for years hidden information about aliens, extraterrestrials. And there have been people who claim to have seen them, to have been abducted and things like that. Those people were always silenced and all of those things, right? So, but then if you notice lately, they've been talking about it. The government has been talking about aliens. I mean, the NASA came out and said something about it recently. President Obama said something about it when he was asked publicly. I don't know if you all remember that. And I think it may have been on that special that they had about the venom. But he said something about aliens. And I remember thinking, why are all of a sudden they're talking about these aliens? Well, I think because like William Cooper just said in the interview, he says that he felt like they were trying to put out a fake agenda, like a fake story, you know, by talking about the aliens so that people will be caught up in that as opposed to looking for the truth. And I also told you all that those aliens that they show depicted with the big round heads and the oval shaped heads and the big black eyes, those are not aliens. Those are not aliens. Those, they call them grays. Those are actually robots. The extraterrestrials who created those robots are black. Now, if you do research, you'll find that a NASA scientist came out and did an interview where he said that they were black. There's also a video, it may have been scrubbed from the internet, that came out years ago with white children over in some part of Africa saying that they saw black extraterrestrials. Now, they saw this while they were at school, and they were doing an interview or whatever. It was numerous children, at least maybe 5 to 10 of them, I believe. And they all said that they were black. With that all being said, yes, they're black. Okay, they don't want you to know that because that would mean that the higher levels of intelligence are black, right? Just like they don't want people to know that the ancient Cometians, i.e. Egyptians, were also black. So pay attention, because what I think they're going to do is I think there's going to be a false alien invasion that they're going to orchestrate themselves. And I can't guarantee this, but this is just what I think. And I think that they're putting out this information about it so people, because lately, if you pay attention, there's been people showing video footage of them seeing things in the sky, talking about aliens and all that, more so than normal. We've always heard of this, you know, years ago, but it was far in between. Now you're hearing all of these people talk about, oh, I saw these lights in the sky and all of this. This is a narrative they're trying to paint. That's what I think. I think this is a narrative they're trying to paint. Okay? And with that all being said, when the Anunnaki, the black extraterrestrials, when they do come, they will be here for our people. But they want you to fear them when they come. And that's why I think they're going to pull off this fake alien invasion to try to make it seem as though these aliens are coming to attack Earth. Okay? Melanated Brown is right. I remember you saying that the usual aliens they show on TV are called grays. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I'm going to share my screen again. Everyone, please get the likes up. That's right. Joe 32 said gods. Absolutely. Okay, so here we go.
The plan of Majestic, but it was actually implementing the plan.
Implementing the plan against the public. It was a psychological operation against the public.
So this is what you saw.
So immediately my head began to spin around, and I began to think, God, you know, I've got to tell people that they're being manipulated. This is a lie. And it really, if the public were using their own intellect, they would know that it was a lie. The executive order quoted for the this document was 92,000 something. I believe it was 92447, which is 92,447, and it was supposedly written by Truman. But Truman never wrote an executive order higher than 9,000. I mean, even today, there's no executive order with the number 92,000 on it. They've been consecutive since the beginning.
So it was clearly fraudulent.
So it's clearly fraudulent, but the public doesn't catch on to this. And here you've got Stanton Friedman, one of the guys who implemented the contingency plan, Majestic, running around the country telling everybody it's not an executive order, it's a date, September 24th, 1947, which it very well could be a date. But it's listed in that document as being an executive order of the President of the United States, Harry Truman. And because of that, it's fake, and many other things. But specifically, that is the most glaring proof of fraudulent intent in the document. There are many other things in the document that also prove it's a forgery. But here they are. They're running this contingency plan, and here I am. I know all about it, and here's the public out there biting it. They even ran that thing in the New York Times, like a 2 or 3 page spread.
I'm going to fast forward. Okay.
He had ordered, in the documents that I saw, he had ordered the intelligence community to prepare a plan to disclose the truth about UFOs to the public. Now, I don't know what that truth was. Could be that maybe there are no extraterrestrials. But whatever the truth was, he had ordered a plan to be prepared that disclosure was going to be done according to that plan within the following year. And the intelligence community consider that to be out of the question. And according to the documents that I saw, his assassination was ordered by the policy committee of the Bilderberg Group, which is really the secret world government, and was carried out by agents of Division 5 of the FBI, the Secret Service, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the Office of Naval Intelligence.
Now he's talking about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. He's talking about his assassination was ordered by the government, and he says that he saw the documents.
Which I was a part in Dallas. And it said that the assassin, the man who actually administered the head wound, was the driver of the car, William Greer, a Secret Service agent who used an assassination pistol built by the CIA for assassinations. That was really an air gun that fired an exploding pellet or could fire a small hypodermic needle or a poison dart using any one of many different deadly poisons. Specifically, it said that he fired an exploding pellet which contained shellfish toxin, and that the act was plainly visible in a film withheld from the public. I looked for 16 years to find that film, and I finally found a copy that showed William Greer turn around and shoot the president. And since 1988, I've been showing that film wherever I'm able to show it to wake people up. It is not our government, though you have to understand, that is doing these things. It is not our government that's failing us. It's not the Constitution or the Bill of Rights that's a bad instrument. It is a group of men who belong to secret societies who have infiltrated our society and our government at all levels and are destroying it and subverting it from within. And every member of naval intelligence that I knew who was an officer was a 32nd or a 33rd degree Freemason. And I asked my commanding officer at one point, I said, why are all you guys Masons? He said, Masons are used to keeping secrets. It's part of their fraternity. So if you want someone who already knows how to keep a secret, you recruit Freemasons. Well, later on, I found out what the truth is. The truth is you're not going to be a naval intelligence officer unless you are a Freemason or a member of the Ancient Order of the Rose and Cross, but you have to be high degrees for that. I think the reason I was selected as an enlisted man is because I had belonged to the Demolay Society.
Which is what?
As a teenager. That's sort of the first level of Freemasonry. That's how they recruit teenagers and indoctrinate them into their principles so that they go right into Freemasonry when they become an adult. So basically, that's the story.
Okay. Well,
I'm going to move forward to the 37-minute mark.
he's going to like except the people that are running it. It's Hitler all over again. And the rationalization is we're going to create the world without war.
The utopia.
The utopia. But they will never create that utopia because they're not dealing with the problem that makes them want to create it. And that is the inherent flaw in each individual human being that makes us do the things that we do. Until that's overcome, there's never going to be a world without war or without rape or without killing or without robbery. And anybody that thinks that there is has already gone off the deep end.
So the method is, here, I'm going to hold a gun to your head so you won't rape, you won't kill.
That's right.
Yes, okay, I understand. The title of your book, Behold a Pale Horse, what significance does that have? What are you saying with this title?
This title is from the book of Revelations, because I have to tell you this, and you may think I'm nuts if you want to, but this is the truth. Either these men are following the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
They're either following it, just like a plan, and bringing the prophecies in there to pass, to manipulate and control those who believe in those prophecies and neutralize them, so to speak. In other words, if this is written in the Bible and God has ordained it, who am I to resist? It must come to pass. So I'm not going to try to stop it.
Okay.
What a perfect way to neutralize the opposition right off the bat. Or there really is a God, and what he said was going to come to pass is coming to pass. And I named this, Behold a Pale Horse, from chapter 13 of the book of Revelations. The fourth horse, the fourth horseman of the apocalypse is the pale horse. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death. And hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with the beasts of the earth. And that is taking place now today. The fourth horseman is riding across the world now. That's what AIDS is all about. That's what all these little brush fire wars all over the world are all about. That's what's happening. That's why cancer cures are suppressed. Is because they fully intend to kill a minimum of 2 billion people by the year 2000. AIDS is an invention of man. It is not a natural disease, and it has been implemented and placed into the population as a population control. And when they did it, they had the cure before they did it.
Mm-hmm.
And when they deem that enough people have died or been killed, they will say, we have a cure for AIDS. And everybody will be called to report to some place to get an inoculation, which is going to do two things. One, it's going to stop AIDS in its tracks. And number two, it's going to implant a device which will be able to be used to track each individual person and maybe even to control those people. And that's what the pet implant program is all about. It's not about finding lost pets. They don't give a damn about pets, and they would never put a satellite in orbit to find a lost pet, but yet there's a satellite up there that they're using to find pets that have been implanted with these devices. They're testing this program on pets that's going to be used in human beings. And in the Los Angeles Times in 1989, they ran an article. It was 10 forecasts for the coming decade was the title of the article. I have a copy of it in my research center. And number 5, I believe it was number 5, in those 10 forecasts for the coming decade was chemical or electronic implants to control individual behavior on a 24-hour basis, unquote. So it's not hidden at all. It's there for anybody who wants to look.
But nobody's looking.
Nobody's looking. They believe, and I believe that they're right, that the biggest danger to mankind right now is man himself, population. A study in 1957 told them that by 1990, the world population would double in 33 years. Can you imagine that? The world population of human beings doubled in 33 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that it's an exponential doubling throughout history. Every time it's doubled, the interval has gotten shorter. So that was 33 years. The next doubling will take place in approximately 28 years. The next one after that, approximately 24 years. Can you imagine if the world population doubles again in 28 years from 1990? In other words, in the year 2018, the world population doubles, and we're having problems with food supplies and timber and clean water and clean air now. And then after that, it doubles again in another 24 years. That's why they created AIDS. Because they didn't want to have to go around the world and say, you, and you up against the wall, you've got to die today, and shoot them. They did it in a manner to where they could target what they consider to be undesirable populations. And I want it very clear that I don't agree with them on this. They specifically targeted blacks, Hispanics, and homosexuals for complete eradication. And AIDS is really going through those populations, and it's really doing a number.
Okay, did you all hear what he just said? He said he wants to be very clear that he does not agree with this, but they're targeting people that they find as undesirables. That's blacks, Hispanics, and homosexuals is who they targeted with AIDS. And I've told you all that before. And that's also why they went over to Africa, according to mercenaries, and gave it through to the Africans, AIDS and HIV, via the smallpox venom.
That blacks, Hispanics, and homosexuals.
That theory has made news. I've heard that before, and
this
it's been
isn't a
debunked
theory.
very clear by the public, saying, "Oh, that's ridiculous." But you're saying that that may indeed be the case.
It's not ridiculous. I actually saw this in documents, and the project name was Project Naomi. MK Naomi was the name of it. It was a CIA project. The AIDS, whatever causes AIDS, whatever that turns out to be, according to those documents, was developed at Fort Detrick, Maryland, under a CIA project called MK Naomi. It was financed by $10 million for the Department of the Army's biological warfare programs. It was carried out, supervised by the CIA, carried out by scientists who worked for the Special Operations Division of the Department of Defense. And it's doing its job.
And would you assume?
Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there. So you all heard what he said. Five Black says, so if this man was lying, why silence him? Exactly. Why silence him? So, and here's the thing that I want you all to pay attention to. William Cooper was assassinated 2 months after 9/11. You all do realize that he predicted 9/11, right? On his radio show, The Hour of the Time, he said that our own government is going to perpetuate a terrorist act on its own people, and they're going to lie and say that it was Osama bin Laden. And that's exactly what happened with 9/11. 2 months later, in November of 2001, William Cooper was assassinated by the Arizona police. Now, I'm going to show you footage of a person who claims to have been a witness, and they know what happened. I'm going to also play for you when William Cooper predicted his own death. Okay? So I'm going to share my screen. Everyone, please get the likes up. Please get the likes up. This is the, hold on, before I go to that, let me show. Hold on. Okay, this is where he predicts his own death. Okay, I'm going to let you all hear this. I'm going to let you all hear the one where he predicts his own death, and then I'm going to play what happened to him on the day he was assassinated. So Queen, with when Rest in Peace Eazy-E had that dirt bike accident, and they were giving him the puncture shots, I believe those were full-blown AIDS. Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely, they gave him full-blown AIDS. That's why he died so quickly. Absolutely. And Suge Knight even said that, and Suge Knight would know. Remember, he was doing a video or interview on one of those shows. I want to say Conan O'Brien or somebody. But he said if they want to get rid of you, they'll just give you the Eazy-E shot or something like that, right? Something he made reference to that. Hold on just a second. Let me pull this up straight from YouTube. Okay, everyone, please get the likes up. Okay, here we go. Believe some sacrificing
The
everything.
worst thing that our enemies can ever create is a martyr. Any move to hurt me in any manner whatsoever that would not be a legitimate method or a legitimate outcome of some legitimate endeavor will be met with martyrdom. Tremendously dangerous and strong, active political movements always rise up around martyrs. While I don't really want to be a martyr, if that's what history chooses for me to be, then I will be that martyr. But our enemies are not stupid. They try to come at you in a way that will demonize you in the eyes of the American public, or the public of the world, so that whatever they do will seem to be legitimate. But my knowledge of the law has stymied them in that respect, because I've challenged them on every issue and they have defaulted. And so they're betting that some local sheriff's deputy or local police officer is going to arrest me, in which case, if they attempt that, I'll have to shoot them. Or they'll have to shoot me. That's what the federal government is counting on. Then they can really demonize me by saying I murdered some police officer who was doing something he should never have been doing in the first place and was actually the one committing the crime against me. And I know all of you are scratching your head because you've been taught so many lies all your life. You think this is absolute total bullshit, but it's the absolute, complete, and total truth.
They're not going to let me get away with doing this forever. So the day they come to put me in prison or kill me, you'll all know that for sure, because it will happen sometime in the future. I don't know exactly when, but it will. And I've known that from the beginning.
Well, so he said he had known that from the beginning. And pay attention. He said they didn't see, some people were like, well, why didn't they just go ahead and kill him in the first place? They didn't want to do that because they had to make him be the villain. If they had just come and killed him, then that would have been them basically making him into a martyr for all the followers who believed in him and his work, right? But guess what? That's still what he became. He's still a martyr. At the end of the day, they tried to, right, Jordan Maxwell, absolutely. One thing they tried to do is they tried to make him out to be the bad person, like he was just lying, like it was conspiracy theories and all of that. Now, I'm not going to say he was 100% correct with everything he predicted, but with most of the things he said, he was absolutely correct. Okay, he predicted the RFID chip where they would try to track people. And then when he said that they're using that with the pets, it's a test run, that's absolutely what it was. Not to mention, they started telling people to use it in their kids, to let their kids get it, remember? So that they can find them if they got abducted. Well, what about when those children grow up? So they're still going to be able to track them? That's what some parents weren't thinking about, right? It's not BS. It's happened today again. The black men. This pandemic 911 part 2 was a dress rehearsal for the future, also tied to the Middle East burning their opioid crops and getting absolutely woke one, absolutely. Okay, so now I'm going to play the video of a witness who saw how the Arizona police assassinated him. Everyone, please get the likes up. Please like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you in advance.
The truck was parked. It was unmarked. No one was in uniforms. They did not identify themselves. That was it. They said that in their briefings the very next day. They were parked here. They intentionally had a vehicle with an incredibly loud stereo system, and they made a lot of noise themselves, hooting and hollering. Bill came down and told them, this is based on the law enforcement people that told me this, that were involved that night. Bill told them if they didn't leave, he was calling the police, and they shunned him on. So he then turned around to go back to his home up there and call the police. Now, at that point, they were here, and he just basically turned right there, just out on this lot a little bit, and went on back. Right here out of this juniper was a spot I was told by law enforcement officials that the first deputy came out right at Bill's truck because he was cruising along slow, watching them more than likely in his rearview mirror, me knowing him very well, to make sure they didn't follow him back over there. He came out, and this is the point where Bill knocked him off sheerly with his arm, not ran over anything. That guy basically just landed on his butt because Bill hit the gas. So he made this little curve here, and this is where he stopped. At this point, according to law enforcement officials, from their briefing and then plus people on site right then, when he stopped, one more person approached the vehicle, but not running. And that's when he did the open hands thing and a sign of, like surrender or whatever.
As if he were surrendering. Investigative report, that's who gave the information.
Here's where he hit up on the bank, just trying to avoid the vehicle that then came shooting up here, full bore, full speed, came ripping up the hill. So obviously the people at the end had communications with people down there on the road. Must have verified that Bill had turned around coming back to his house. So they came zooming up here in a vehicle. He's avoiding them. He comes up on this bank. It was testified as that by the law enforcement reports, as well as the evidence on his vehicle that is what happened. The exhaust system was tore off the bottom. He then proceeded right there past the small elms and the driveway to the front of his yard.
Cooper turned and fled when the deputies identified, opened fire with a handgun as two deputies and wounded an officer in the head. The other officer shot Cooper.
I was told by the law enforcement officials that were on site and ones that had to come up afterwards and get a briefing so they knew what went on roughly, because public was obviously going to be coming, try to come up here, and news crews and all whatnot. They had put out that Bill is not to be let back in that house alive. It was premeditated. It was put out, Bill will not be allowed back in alive. Right here at Bill's home is where he pulled up. His front of this vehicle would be towards me. The other vehicle was parked with the front towards the other end of the street. Bill ran around the back of his vehicle, which would be towards the driveway. He then proceeded across his yard. This is when the shooting began, according to their reports. The vehicle that was parked here besides his truck, which was pointed that way, he had bought for Jessica, his daughter, and then she didn't want it, so it was just sitting here. Sheriff Goldsmith ran around the back of it, which would be towards me, and got on this street side to use the vehicle as protection. At that point, Bill is approximately halfway in the yard and still running with his back towards him. They claim at that point he began shooting, which was with his right arm just thrown backward, haphazardly pulling the trigger of a .38 snub-nose Smith & Wesson. From where we're standing would be essentially the angle that Goldsmith would have been standing, but closer. Marinas would have been by the 58 Chevy, which would be equivalent to that truck, but up all the way to the wall. Next to that end post of the front porch. Bill was supposedly shooting backwards like this, which would be back towards the street in reality, that direction. When he hit Marinas, that angle does not work at all. Plus, the bullet hole in the glass of the 58 Chevy indicates a bullet path of approximately this direction through the driver's roll-down window and out the passenger corner of the windshield, indicating clearly it went towards the dome in town, which is the high school field for playing during the winter. At that point, Goldsmith opened fire, hitting Bill several times. Bill fell down right where the porch would start, and the dirt would meet the concrete sidewalk. Next to the planter, you can just slightly see raised on this side, favoring me from the front door. That's where he fell. And according to them, they quit shooting, and he was dead.
An Apache County Sheriff's deputy is in the hospital after being shot in the head by a so-called militia member.
Now, what we know is that militia member is dead. Our Gary Harper has the very latest on what's going on with that story. Gary?
Marty, Scott, this all happened in a little town called Eager, Arizona, which is just on the eastern side of the state of Arizona. It's almost on the border of New Mexico. This is what we know so far. Sheriff's deputies, we understand, were trying to serve some type of arrest warrant on a man by the name of William Cooper. He's also known as Bill Cooper. He reportedly has been known to be hostile toward law enforcement. So sheriff's deputies apparently disguised themselves as a bunch of rowdy teenagers in the back of a pickup truck in hopes of luring Cooper out, and it apparently worked. However, when Cooper realized what was happening, he reportedly pulled a gun and shot a 40-year-old deputy in the head. During the gunfight, Cooper himself was shot and he was killed. Now, this is what we know about Bill Cooper. Officials say he belongs to some kind of militia movement and has published several anti-establishment articles. He has a website, we understand, and on that website, he acknowledges that there is an arrest warrant for him, but he writes, and we're quoting here, any attempt by any federal government agent or anyone else to execute the unlawful arrest warrants will be met with armed resistance. Any person who attempts to kidnap our children will be shot upon discovery. And that is apparently what happened earlier this morning. Sometime after midnight, Cooper reportedly pulling a gun and shooting a 40-year-old Apache County Sheriff's deputy in the head. That Sheriff's deputy, we understand, has been flown to Phoenix, where he is in a hospital. We are trying to get his condition right now. We do not know exactly what his condition is, and we understand that the militia member, in this case Bill Cooper, was shot to death. We do have a crew en route to Eager, Arizona, and we'll have a lot more coming up on tonight's news.
Okay, so let me say this. So, yes, they had the police, young-looking police officers, dress up like rowdy teenagers after, like they're drinking beer. They had beer out there in their hands and stuff and playing loud music. Now, the thing is, they knew that he had an arsenal of weapons. He had said on his radio broadcast the hour of the time that anyone who came for him was going to be met with armed resistance. And then he had his wife take their 2 daughters and move out of state, because he knew that they're going to eventually come to kill him. Like you heard on the recording, he said himself, they're not going to continue to let him do that forever. And so here's another thing that most people may not even know. Prior to all of this going on, years before, William Cooper had got into a motorcycle accident and his leg had to be amputated. Now, they say that that whole thing was set up for them to, get back at him for running his mouth. So while he was in the hospital, he said he was paid a visit by some men. And they came into his hospital room at the bedside and they asked him, are you ready to shut up now? Or are you going to keep talking? Because they were letting him know that, yes, we did this to you. That's why your leg is being amputated. And so if you don't want things to get worse, like end up dead, you better shut your mouth. So he told him, he said, yeah, I'll be a good boy. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to be quiet from now on. And he was quiet for 16 years. But when all these other nefarious plans started coming out, such as, them talking about getting rid of a certain amount of people for depopulation, them talking about the paperwork about the terrorist act that was going to be perpetuated, and then they'd say Osama bin Laden did it. That's when he started talking again. He finally was just like, he can't keep it to himself. So he started talking. And not only that, everywhere that he went, he showed that video of Kennedy in that car, and the limo driver absolutely did kill him. Okay? The limo driver absolutely did kill him. He turned around and shot him with his right hand. Now, there was 12 people that were close to the car during the parade, and they all saw that the limo driver did it. All of those 12 people came up dead. So all of those people came up dead. So them saying Lee Harvey Oswald, no. Them talking about the person on the grassy knoll and all that stuff, that's all a load of BS. And remember, they said that President Kennedy said that there was a plot by the government to enslave every man, woman, and child, and he was going to reveal the plot before he left office. And 7 days later, he was dead. Just a week later. Just a week later. But hold on. I think I have the video of that. Let me just make sure. Everyone, please get the likes up. Get the likes up. I think this is it. Absolutely demons. Okay, here it is right here. I'm going to share my screen so you all can see this.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
And so they ordered his execution. It was actually ordered by the policy committee of the Bilderberg Group in The Hague in Geneva, Switzerland, and was carried out by agents of the secret government in Dallas. The man who actually administered the coup de grace was the driver of the car, William Greer. We have a film in beautiful living color that you can actually see with your own eyes William Greer turn with an assassination pistol in his left hand and shoot the president point blank in the head over his right shoulder.
You see him do it.
It's incredible. It's been hidden from the public for all these years. But the same film has been shown on television for all these years, but they've always zoomed right in on Kennedy and cut the driver out, so you can never see it. It's the Zapruder film. It was never shown to the Warren Commission. They never saw it.
Now y'all saw that, right? Y'all saw that the limo driver did it. He was left-handed. The limo driver did it. And another thing is, one of the Secret Service, one of the Secret Service that was supposed to be like right on the back of the car, well, they told him to get off. They didn't want him following so close. Why would they pull him off? That's because they already had premeditated and planned that they were going to kill him. Another thing is Kennedy was also going to expose the stuff about the extraterrestrials. They didn't want that talk. They didn't want that spoken about. And he was also about to bankrupt the Federal Reserve. So it was a whole bunch of stuff going on that they didn't want. And you know what? According to the documents that William Cooper said that he saw when he was a naval intelligence officer, because that's another thing. He was former naval intelligence. So he was privy to seeing top secret information. And that's why he was saying that all of them had to be Masons. He wasn't a Mason, but he said they likely allowed him in. They call it being grandfathered in when someone else brings you in. But he said that he had belonged to some sect of the Masons that is for teenagers, right? When they're trying to recruit teenagers. He had belonged to that when he was in high school. So he said he thinks that's why they allowed him in. So that's just all real crazy. And he said he saw these documents. They knew he had this information. And before they killed him, like I said, they had him in that accident and he had to have his leg amputated. And they thought that was going to keep him quiet. And so for 16 years, he didn't say a word. But then when he started telling everything, and especially when he predicted 9/11, and he also predicted how they're going to be monitoring the public and how they had a depopulation agenda and how they were going to insert those RFID chips into people so they can track you. Now, y'all still think he's a conspiracy theorist? Because I'm sorry, but all that stuff has either happened or is happening. Okay? I'm just saying. So why did Miss Kennedy stay quiet? Because she didn't want to get killed, October. You saw she was trying to get out of that car. She did not want to get killed. She had children to raise. You have to ask yourself, what would you do? If you had small children and your husband just got killed in front of you, and then you already know why, are you going to talk? You just may be quiet yourself, right? Yeah, she had to keep quiet because you see what happened to Princess Diana when she wouldn't keep quiet, right? Now, they can sit there and tell that lie that she was killed in a car accident while she was being chased by the paparazzis. But they killed her in that tunnel. That's what they did. And that's why Prince Harry was so afraid for Meghan Markle's life. That's why they left and gave up their royal, names and all of that. Okay? Because he knows. He was like 10 years old when his mother was killed. Exactly, Beatzilla. Yes, they're evil. Okay? Absolutely fight for black. So with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast because I'm coming back and we're going to talk about the incident that happened at Ruby Ridge. It's something kind of similar to this. Okay, something kind of similar to this. Only the person at Ruby Ridge, this was a man who considered himself a sovereign, and he was anti-government, and he was a separatist, and they also say he was a white supremacist. But I do know that he was a separatist, and he and his family were literally under siege at Ruby Ridge. And guess what? Just like they said they were coming to deliver William Cooper a warrant for tax evasion, they said they were coming to deliver Randy Weaver a warrant too. Just coming to serve him a warrant at Ruby Ridge. Another thing too about William Cooper is they killed him before he got a chance to make it back into that house because they knew he had an arsenal of weapons. When they lured him out, those plainclothes police who looked like a bunch of kids, teenagers or whatever, when they lured him out, you heard what the guy said. They had already said, don't let him get back into that house alive. Because if he had gotten back in there alive, he would have killed some of them, and they already knew it. And that's why they waited for 3 years before they even attempted to arrest him. Because they actually had that warrant for him for like 3 years, right? They had that warrant for like 3 years. But he kept coming on his radio show saying that if anybody tried to come for him and, or his family, he was going to shoot them. And they knew it. But also, if you listen to that last recording they played, they really did demonize him. Didn't they say everything that he said? Remember, he said when he predicted his death, he said they're going to get some local deputy on the day that they come to try to kill him, he said, or arrest him. He said, then he's going to have to shoot them. And he said what they're probably going to do is because they don't want him to die a martyr. So they're going to get a local deputy to try to come at him. And then he's going to either have to shoot him or the man's going to have to shoot him. And then they can say, oh, well, he killed a deputy. He killed that poor deputy. That's exactly what they said. They said he shot this 40-year-old deputy, right? And they said he already had hostility towards law enforcement. Well, of course, because he knew law enforcement was trying to kill him. He'd already been receiving numerous death threats. And by the way, when he was drove up there to confront who he thought was a bunch of rowdy teenagers on his property, when he told them he was going to call the police, he was never going to call the police. He didn't fool with the police. He likely told them that so he could get back to the house and get his other guns. Because he had figured out by then, I think he knew at that moment, when he turned his truck around, I think he turned around because he knew these are the police themselves. They lured me out here. And that's why he turned around and hit the gas. Why would he have turned around like that? So with that all being said, that's when the deputy came out and identified himself. And that's when the shootout ensued. Right, exactly, Cole. So with that all being said, I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. Make sure you like and share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, on Instagram at Divine_Goddess_27, Brighton, Patreon, and Melanated People at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and Twitter at DGoddess27. And I hope to see you all in the next chat, which the next video will be starting in about 2 minutes.